What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Should have like and sub, and let's get into this. All right, it's a mess. It's a mess. We knew it would be. Everyone that said they don't care about Star Wars is coming back to show that they do, at least a little bit, just to see how bad it's going to get. That's why I'm here, just to see how bad it's going to get. And while I gave it a 3 out of 10, and there might be a couple elements that I like and or could like if it was done by someone competent, and spoiler, Leslie Headland, former Harvey Weinstein personal assistant, is not competent. That being said, there's some nuggets in there, but no, it's mostly horrible. And the third episode is where it's really going to get bad. But let's see. I'm an OG Star Wars fan. I knew all the lore before Disney came in and said it didn't count anymore, and now is picking it clean in the worst way possible. But let's see.
No. Okay.
Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star. How many people died on that?
Yeah, it was painful.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you're.
Yeah, it's funny. This is another one of those actors where, much like House of the Dragon, just don't listen to what the actors say. His character is at least better. Lord Fardan or Fandar. Lord Fandar, Jesus. Yord Fandar. I'll get it one day. I'm trying. No one else is. I'm trying. He's better than his real life actor. That's for sure.
Standing on.
What are you, stupid?
People have been talking to me online about how Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that.
Oh my god, I can't believe you guys did that.
So I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman sense.
And I'm calling it now. That is one of the mothers of the twins.
Figure.
People have told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I'm frankly into it.
I have to watch it again. Sorry.
Yes.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Sorry, one more time.
Kathy gets a lot of shit online.
Yeah.
But I know that she was the one who made this show.
Oh, 100%.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lit.
And this is one of the times where Dave Filoni gets away with a lot, and a lot of it is him too. But this is one of the ones where Kathleen is definitely responsible for giving Leslie this show and then saying, now make a Leslie Headland show. That is all Kathleen Kennedy.
I am currently still shaking a little bit from receiving this video.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million practitioners of common sense and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. It's that time once again. Disney has seen fit to dig up the desecrated corpse of Star Wars and defile it once again, assaulting our senses and burning, well, quite frankly, what's left of my brain
Shout out to the 199. I got to get one of those hats, even though I look horrible in hats.
cells with a brand new piece of Disney content from former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland. The Acolyte has arrived. Now, after the punishment over the years that George Lucas's beloved stories received at the hands of the House of Mouse, how bad could it really be?
Welcome to hell,
This reminds me of the wise words my dear old departed pops told me the day I was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Son, things could always get worse.
And I'm glad he said that, because I was just thinking, everyone is acting like this is the worst show ever. Once you take away the fact that it was Ewan McGregor, or that we thought we were going to see Boba Fett, if you go back and watch Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Kenobi, they are just as horrible, if not worse, than the first 2 episodes that we have seen. All the horribleness has yet to come. The actual meltdowns that we will all have has yet to come. Episode 3.
He's not wrong.
A lesson Disney and Lucasfilm hasn't learned yet, but they will. Now, after they started the year announcing a Rey movie directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy,
Which, dear God, don't let this be canceled.
stated it's about time a woman shaped Star Wars, completely ignoring the last decade of this woman shaping Star Wars into a perfect turd. Now we have a completely different woman shaping Star Wars, and forgive
Or Patty Jenkins, or Ron Howard's daughter.
me if I haven't mentioned this before, it's former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland.
I know what's going on.
The first sign of trouble was when something historic happened a little under 4 years after The Acolyte was announced. They released the first live-action Star Wars trailer to get ratioed, and they followed that up with the second live-action Star Wars trailer to get ratioed. And if that wasn't bad enough, Then the PR campaign happened, and tell me if you haven't heard this one before. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy says a lot of women in Star Wars struggle with fan attacks because of the fan base being so male-dominated.
They used every tactic they had used at one time or another before, all at once. They called everyone sexist. They called everyone racist. It was great. Trans. All the isms got thrown out before it had even released. And the video game Star Wars Outlaws is also getting ratioed.
After 10 years of the Force's female, if Disney Star Wars is still a male-dominated brand, I have to ask, what type of male? And they changed that headline from Kathleen Kennedy confronts Star Wars toxic fans. Now, the only thing that may be a little different about that is it openly comes straight from the top, but they weren't done. Series creator and former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland, stated,
"You know how he was convicted of having inappropriate relationships with all those women? Yeah, she was his assistant during that time."
She stands firm that bigots are not true Star Wars fans. I stand by empathy. And again, that's how they started the PR campaign.
I would say arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And
I hate it. I hate it.
It's pretty gay. Let's be honest.
So fucking happy. They're so happy.
Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this right now.
He's a good actor, by the way, because his character is nothing like the actor. That's how I know. It's like, oh, damn, you really did become a new person.
You should just shut up.
It's just like,
shut up. I
but
love
that
him.
is,
You should
but that
shut
is
up.
the beauty of this story.
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay.
Well,
Yeah.
well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by.
It's not threatened. It's the same thing if we accused you of being straight. It's just correcting.
Well, that's true. But in my world, nerds are gay.
Perhaps our existence, just like anything that exists outside of the binary, the establishment can find that threatening.
And if all that wasn't enough to convince you that the Acolyte was going to be a giant dumpster fire, it doesn't help that there was a review embargo up until the day it was released. But I guess Rolling Stone didn't get the memo when they dropped their negative review. The Acolyte, this Star Wars prequel series, isn't a force to be reckoned with. Even a veteran Jedi Master would lose patience with this latest D+ edition of canon, which focuses on a pair of twins, revenge, and falling asleep. A review they had to immediately delete. Then the worst thing that could possibly happen to the Acolyte did. They released it.
Everyone deserves the fastest,
And while we wait for this to skip through, because we hit the halfway point, shout out to monetization. He didn't clarify, because he must have had this recorded, because just now on Friday Night Tights earlier, he announced that the reason that they had to delete was not that they released it early in the, or that might have been both, in addition to, either way. They apparently made a joke about Yord's hair, the dreadlock that they give to everyone, the Killmonger hairstyle. Apparently they call them a rooster or something like that. And that they got in trouble. So they had to edit that part out. And that was found with comparing the Internet Archive of the article before it got taken down and then put back up. So,
I think
wouldn't
that
notice.
Star Wars is so gay already.
Yes.
The Acolyte is a murder mystery told from the perspective of the bad guys who couldn't possibly be the Sith, that takes place 100 years before the Phantom Menace, where they clearly stated,
"Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium."
And obviously, they're talking about the last war between the Republic and the Sith, which ended in the Rusan Reformation, which reformed the entire, because the Republic is a lot older than 1,000 years, spoiler. But to retcon that statement and make it to their, since the Rusan Reformation, where the Valley of the Jedi is, shout out to my Kyle Katarn fans, there have been no sightings of the Sith, and that's obviously because Darth Bane, using inspiration from Darth Revan's holocron, created the Sith rule of two: a master, an apprentice, one to hold power, and one to lust after it, baby, to crave it. And then just by hopscotching through the galaxy in the time, yes, the Sith stayed alive all the way up to Plagueis and Palpatine, and then, Sidious and Vader and all the Palpatine is Sidious. You know what I'm saying? Tyrannus is what I meant to say. Anyway.
In a Disney Star Wars show inspired by Frozen,
Let it go.
and Kill Bill, if they were both fanfic created by a former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein. Its worst crime is it's boring, closely followed by humiliating dialogue, which is equaled only by acting that would give Madam Web and those short independent films on the hub a run for their money. And Disney...
Yeah, and I wasn't bored, but only because I was waiting for the car accident, right? I'm like, but just watching it, on its own, fucking nothing happens. And there's a couple times like, damn, you could have put like a creature attack or something.
He has reduced George Lucas's Star Wars into bland people in bland robes doing uninteresting things slowly.
Yeah, it's
but
boring
it
like
is
that.
diverse. There are many different types of lesbians. You would think it would star Carrie-Anne Moss, considering how much they promoted her in the trailers. Well, don't get too attached to her. Obi-Wan Trinity is confronted in a bar by a mysterious woman in a COVID mask.
Yes, my child. Attack me with all your strength.
I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking that too. Is she hitting on her? But no. After a fight,
I thought for sure he'd put a Fight Club, I want you to hit me as hard as you can clip, but all right.
That you saw most of in the trailer that's totally not supposed to remind you of the Matrix, Qui-Gon Carey collects a paycheck and dies. And this mysterious assassin with the COVID mask and the very distinctive hair is named May. She is on a clan.
By the way, that is a total tactic of attacking an innocent, so the Jedi will leave themselves defenseless to protect said innocent. But also, you got to depict that better, because she was a Jedi. She should have been able to do both. She could have paused both at the same time. But
destined mission to hunt down and kill 4 Jedi, apparently in very public places with lots of witnesses, which turns out to be barely an inconvenience because she has a twin sister named Osha, the good twin sister who is appropriately named because she's a mechanic. I hope she's a
mechanic, and they've never called it mechanic. I hate this edition. Also, Trade Federation does not use humans as mechanics. They have droids for that.
To date on her MSDS. She's a former Padawan who could put out sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Osha is questioned by Killmonger and Haircut Only and Jenny Nicholson after being ID'd as her sister by the bartender after the assassination in the very public place with lots of witnesses. And I can hear you now. Maybe May planned to set up Osha. No, later on in the show, we find out that each sister thinks the other one is dead.
Yeah, and so if you're wondering where the hell those Force visions come from, I know Ryan did say that they could just be coming from the Force. I don't think they're just coming from the Force. I think the Master, or whatever Sith on that island, that's a girl, is, and probably one of their mothers, is making those visions much the way Snoke did to Rey and Kylo, because they got to have a Force dyad and bring sequel trilogy shit into it. Not that Force bonds that could have visions and all that didn't exist before, but this version of it is sequel trilogy shit.
And this is where we find out that May started a fire that eventually killed her, the rest of her village, and because this is Disney Star Wars, her mother's.
You lost your entire family. Your mother's, your sister.
You know, this reminds me of something.
My mom's.
It's a secret, though.
Yeah. And
I swear to God, I didn't know that was there, but that was a good play. Yeah, it's a secret. It's not so secret.
Anyway, and I'm sure Amandla Stenberg was hired on her acting prowess, but I have to admit, it is impressive that she can play 2 different parts exactly the same without changing her facial expression.
They're the same face! Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Then we return to some.
Yeah, I mean, I did like her more as the Osha personality, but yeah, it's mostly the same. She just acts meaner as the May personality.
Place familiar. No, it's not Tatooine. I know that's what you're thinking. It's Coruscant, where we meet Sol, the Jedi Master, played by the guy from Squid Game. He's
the best part about the show, and I think it was just because I like the actor. It was the only thing I was getting from it.
Also the former master of our Rick James-haired heroine, Osha.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Despite recently learning English for this role, and yes, sometimes it's hard to understand him, he's easily the best thing in the Acolyte. The bad news, he's in the Acolyte. The rest of the Jedi Council cast is rounded out by the insubordinate and annoying Padawan X-23 and the wife to former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland. Jedi Master
it's rough. It's rough. And the one High Republic book I read, Starlight of the Republic, whatever, where it's like a ship crashing through the hyperspace lanes. She was supposed to be a little prodigy, like the youngest to do everything perfect, blah, blah, blah. Now she's old and bald and dykey as ever.
Nepo, whose acting skills would fit perfectly in a Neil Breen film.
May the Force be with you.
The first 2 half-an-hour each episodes of The Acolyte are absolutely filled with what we expect from D+. inane and
by the way, that's the point I was trying to make, is like, this is the same dumb shit that we've been getting from them for a while now.
or unnecessary trips to pad time, including our Jedi gang spending the last third of the first episode going back and retrieving their Jedi murder suspect that Shillmonger and Jedi Nicholson thought it was a good idea to leave unsupervised on a prisoner transport, which they managed to do pretty easily. Credit where credit is due. The Disney analytics know their customers well, and they know they won't be paying attention very long, so the tension is immediately lifted when Osha is no longer a suspect, because there's been another Jedi attack on Olega at the Jedi Union Temple, Local 357. This time,
This is another one of those, it's Belisarius from Rebel Moon. Kill her! Kill her. Why did they think this was acceptable makeup?
They went after Master Torben, who has been meditating for 10 years.
Master Torben has a
and yes, the fat Jedi is the biggest one. It's the biggest. The fat Jedi is the biggest affront. It's like, no, nope, nope, hell no. A fat Jedi is a bridge too far.
Spoken to anyone in over 10 years.
Obviously, the first attempt to kill Torben failed, but not to worry, because the security is lax at the Jedi Temple Union Local 3.
Everyone would have felt a Force user, unless she was specifically using a technique to hide her presence in the Force, and then that would require her not to be using any Force powers.
57. Torben is played by Dean Charles Chapman, who you may recognize as Tommen from Game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
And he's got something else in common with Tommen. After 10 years in meditation, all's May had...
And yes, it's pointed out the reason they got a young actor to do this and had the horrible makeup is because they're going to have flashbacks and they want him to look young in it. But my God, do it better.
The dude was talking him into killing himself. And this all happened while the Jedi were talking in front of the temple. And the rest of the cast is literally rounded out with body positivity Padawan and Asian Ezra Miller, who's May's drug dealer. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the introduction of the big bad Smilo Ren, who sounded like Stephen Hawking with bronchitis delivering
no reason for them to ignite the saber like that.
A monologue written by a 12-year-old through a fast food speaker.
3 orders of wonton soup.
Are you a
And
hot
Dan?
sleeper?
Wow.
Do you find yourself waking up in
ads
the
here.
middle
Sorry
of the
about that.
night overheated?
The Jedi live in a dream.
Oh, some fortune cookies too.
An acolyte kills without a weapon. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail.
And by the end, everyone realizes Osha's twin May is alive, and May realizes Osha is alive. And if this is starting to sound like CW garbage, it's because it is. And after trapping May, she blows dust in the face of Shillmonger and Soul. And
by the way, this twin storyline has already been done twice in the Old Republic video game.
Escapes. And so ends what I am told are the tolerable episodes of The Acolyte. And according to my good friends Alan Ng and Chris Gore, things get much worse, including in episode 3 when they confirm the Force is female.
Episode 3 of The Acolyte is going to break Star Wars with a complete redefinition of the Force.
That being said, I still have questions like, who knew that some female Jedi can take getting stabbed in the gut with a lightsaber, but all it takes is a little knife to kill one? This explains Qui-Gon Jinn, though. He obviously could have survived and just wanted to die. Why would you put multiple prisoners, including one suspected of killing a Jedi, in a transport guarded by one robot, piloted by 2 chairs?
By the way, I don't want to, maybe he's going to mention it. It's more than just the Force is female being confirmed. And if he doesn't mention it by the end, I will. But it's good. It's way worse. It's way worse.
Why didn't the Jedi at the local 357 beef up the security after one of their own was attacked? And why didn't they cover the skylight? And why would you say this about a lightsaber?
This is a fight that you will not win. A Jedi doesn't pull out a weapon unless prepared to kill.
When Shillmonger was using one as a flashlight later on in the episode. And who trimmed Torben's beard while he was levitating in a force bubble for 10 years? And where did his poop go? The world between worlds?
Forgive me.
How in the hell?
He's like Kim Jong-un. He doesn't poop. He has no butthole. There's no butthole. It's just the Force recycles everything.
How did Osha and May not run into each other at the salon? How did a fire burn long enough to roast marshmallows and porg on in space? And who thought it was a good idea to give the former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland, a show with a budget of $180 million, with an audience score that's currently sitting at 27% and a completely predictable 92% from the media shills.
I think it's dropped to 26%. By the way, shout out, I don't think he's going to say it. So in the third episode, I mean, I guess stop watching now if you want spoilers, but if you're watching this long, you probably don't care. We're getting Immaculate Conception. And I know what you're saying, but Badger, we have Immaculate Conception. That's Anakin. That's the chosen one. Yeah, I know. Except they're going to make it lesbian Force Witch Immaculate Conception. And that's why the Jedi had the problem with the Force Witches on Brandok, is because they were using the Force to create life between two women, because the Force is woman energy, whatever the fuck, and that lets two Force Witches create the twins by Force scissoring together. And so creating that, showing that there's Immaculate Conception between two Force users, will invalidate Shami's story of just saying, "Oh, it came from the Force," which we all know if you read the Plagueis novel or anything like that, or it's Anakin, the chosen one, is the balance. Literally, it's the answer to Plagueis trying to mess with the Metachlorians and create the Sithari, the Sith chosen one, and the Force was like, no, and created Anakin as the balance, and that's the chosen one. He brings balance to the Force by wiping out the Sith himself, Insidious, and then while there's still the dark side, there's still light and dark. The Sith are no more, and there's never an actual capital S Sith ever again after Anakin does that. It's all just normal dark side stuff.
With their lips firmly pressed on the corporate teat. This is a phenomenon we've known about for a long time, but it seems others are catching on.
Critics are less relevant today than at any time in human history. They're off so much more than they're on. I just don't understand why they're still employed. I mean, what is the purpose that they serve other than speaking to other completely disconnected, supposedly highbrow people that live in congested urban areas?
Yeah, and I think also that critics, and I don't know why, but they seem to feel a need to judge any project by how is it looking at the lens through today's new.
By the way, shout out to Taylor Sheridan, who almost every one of his shows is a banger. All the Yellowstones, Bass Reeves, Mayor of Kingstown. He had the Sicario movies. It still wasn't enough to make Paramount profitable and tank all the losses of Kurtzman-Trek.
Question morality. What should we be making movies about? And you can make a shitty movie about something that they support, and they're going to support that movie.
No shit.
And with that, let's go to the people, starting with Brett S., 1 star. Okay, I will admit my expectations were probably too high for this. They were, but wow, does this underwhelm. It doesn't know what it is or what it wants to be. If I could at least see the vision, I would give it the benefit of the doubt, which you should never do with Disney Star Wars. What an absolute mess. Show you N for 2 stars. The story is confusing. Amanda Stenberg plays twins the same, so it adds to the confusion. The pace of the show is very slow.
They have the same goddamn haircut.
With unsatisfying payoffs. The Jedi world in Acolyte is the same as the one in The Phantom Menace, which seems odd considering the series is supposed to take place 100 years before The Phantom Menace. Ahsoka was a much better series. Oh, that was a low blow, show you. Half star, the show.
And by the way, in the Star Wars universe, with 30,000 years, probably more than that, obviously, but 30,000 years of like known canon and like time ranges of which stories could go, 100 years ain't shit. 100 years ain't shit.
Absolutely breaks canon. The soundtrack is unbearable, which really takes the soul out of the show. Not that it has any anyways. I will say I do like the character of Soul, but other than that, it's a bland and basic show which doesn't feel like Star Wars. Similar to most Disney Star Wars projects, nevertheless, maybe my opinion will change when the other episodes are released. I highly doubt it. Eric C. for a half star. I simply can't understand how Star Wars has been allowed to fall so far.
That's the one, is how still, and I guess they've just committed to fully losing and then replacing and rebuilding their audience. And it's, I don't think you could, maybe you could rebuild, it could take you forever and it'll never be to the heights, but to outright replace, no, you're never just going to have a modern mythical audience come in and take over. And if you did anything, it would just take decades. It would take decades that you don't have.
Our bad writing, bad casting, cheap look and feel despite massive budgets. Simply does not feel like Star Wars in any way. This was not made for the audience that grew up loving the franchise. No. David H. half star. Reading the reviews just after I watched episodes 1 and 2, it's just poor. Every scene is too clean. Clothes clean.
That's the High Republic. That's the High Republic.
Even the dirty rooms are clean. There is a scene where a fire breaks out in space. It feels like it was all filmed at Disneyland. Carrie Ann Moss underused. has no emotion at all. The rest of the cast, poor acting and poor story. I did give it a chance. I will watch episode 3 and 4. It has to improve. There has to be more. And again, the first 2 episodes were supposed to be the tolerable ones. And going back to my dear old dad's warning, things are going to get worse, including 2 moms conceiving twin girl Force users.
So it's a coven of lesbians that make 2 twins that they're going to indoctrinate into the power of the thread, which is their interpretation of the Force.
And pronouns in live action Star.
And by the way, and I read a bit from it, the essential guide to the Force, and it's before Disney took over, but it basically says in that, I knew this from other lore, but all connected, that yeah, there are a lot of different Force witches. The most you've heard of are probably the Night Sisters from Dathomir, and now they made some dumb shit that they're from another galaxy. But the Nights, they're just other Force witches, and all that is Force users who came up with their own traditions and methods of using the Force that didn't know about the Jedi and Sith traditions. So there are a lot of planets with Force witches or people using magics, but it's just the Force. It's just the Force. And when the Jedi find out about it and find out that they're maybe using it inappropriately, they do intercede.
Star Wars. But don't get down because this isn't sad. Don't bother getting mad because it's hilarious. Comedy isn't dead because we are currently living in the best unintended comedic era in Hollywood history, thanks to Disney. And I truly appreciate Lucasfilm leaning into the South Park meme because the Acolyte is both lame and, as former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland admitted, gay.
Are you excited about that?
Nerdrotic.com.
Shout out. Sure to like, share, and sub to Gary Nerdrotic. Yeah. Wait for the 3rd episode. That's why I gave it a 3 out of 10 just so far, the first 2 episodes, because it's going to go to a 1 and I'm going to lose my brain. I'm going to lose my mind and lose all ability, and I will be just a feral, angry badger when they invalidate the Chosen One's prophecy with their immaculate conception. Shite. But anyway, let me know. Obviously, it won't count because this is all just legal fan fiction, and not even fans, because fans normally the time do good shit. So it's just legal fiction, and we will meme it as such. Let me know what you think of this. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, thank you. If you're gonna do that, thank you. And well,
Bye.